Hello everyone, I just want to go over, just do a little brief detail overview. Now wave 1, there's not that much special about wave 1. You can see there's this relic that gives you poison if you do ARIF stuff. But other than that, there's not much to know about it. It's just gonna be the, let's see. Yeah, it's just gonna be this standard mob. Now, their damage intentions are not that high. They don't really have any special mechanics. They will apply weakness to you at some turns, and you don't want to burst during that, if possible. But other than that, that's all you need to know. Now, Wave 2, let's see if we can get into a replay. Wave 2, there's two different things. There's gonna be this Karen boss, which I found to be pretty difficult, but also there's just a lot of mob fights. So let's talk about the Karen boss first because we loaded into a replay. And yeah. The ARIF part should be happening now. So she'll give you these cards. And by the way, it's not gonna be 26 poison if you're playing on A4 or A5. I'm just a A3 casual, so don't worry about that. But yeah, she'll give you these cards where you gain ARIF, but you have to debuff yourself. Now this is phase 1. Phase 1, it's just a poison debuff, and if you keep it, it's stagnation. But phase 2, she'll give you these cards that will give you 3 ARIF, and I think it applies weakness, vulnerable, and fragile, which are 3 and on yourself specifically. Of course, with the poison. So that's those are some very dangerous debuffs. And the thing is, you wanna use them during your burst turn if you're able to. Phase 1 isn't that harmful. Phase 2, it's like a bit more difficult. If you have weakness dispel, such as Hellet, in that case, you can kind of just pop the 3 ARIF phase 2 cards and just say, I'm just gonna do my burst turn with infinite ARIF. Of course, you're still gonna have fragile and vulnerable, but you can also dispel fragile, some units. So, there's that. There's also the fact that Karen, one of her intentions, it'll grant strength every single time you spend ARIF. So you have to spend an ARIF amount that's 1 or higher, and every single instance of that, she'll gain strength. So ideally, you do not want to talk that too much. I can't really give that much advice on Karen because I just did 2 A3 clears, but that's the basics. And there's one more thing I should add. There's gonna be these mobs that are very, very annoying. This one specifically, the cocoon, it is not fun to play if you have multi-hit. Of course, there's a lot of frozen mobs, and as an introduction, frozen is a state where your cards will get locked up until the awakener that corresponds with it exalts. So you have to exalt to get rid of the card debuff where you can't play it. It's similar to Seal, but yeah, dispel's on exalt. This cocoon, it's an optional fight, but it's a very scary one because it'll freeze a card maybe every 6 times. It's somewhere between 4 to 6, but if you do enough instances of damage to it, it'll just start freezing your cards. And it could end up being really annoying, especially if you're trying to play something like Tawil, which I do not recommend on this wave. If you're gonna do that, just skip the fight. It's optional. you're gonna have to I don't have the whole map loaded, but it's just not worth the pain. I mean, if you want to, you could try, but like, yeah. I I've had problems with it. This wave, so I'm just not gonna comment. Wave 3. The important thing about Wave 3 is that, well, I mean, there's two ways to do this. Number one, there's these there's these certain there's these certain comps which you can just scale a lot in phase 1, and it makes taking down phase 2 really and it makes taking down phase 2 pretty easy. And then there's the other method, which is you take down phase 1 naturally, you don't really stall that much, and then what you do is you just try to kill everyone. That is also a thing, but I think that one is a lot harder than scaling with phase 1. There's not that much to know. It's gonna do 2 really big damage attacks at the start, and then it's gonna sleep for some rounds, and then do another damage attack, then sleep for some rounds. And by the way, when I say sleep, I mean it gains strength, it gains counter. I think it also gains a shield. So when it sleeps, it will start gaining counter. And if you want to not get bothered by that, you can run Pandia in your comp, and she has a card where she will dispel the enemy's counter. But other than that, I'll just show the 2 comps I did to clear. Number 1 is this G Murphy Lemurian comp. You don't need that much investment. This wheel specifically is kind of nice just because it lets you exalt on turn 2 with G Murphy, and it helps block some of the damage from that. But the things you need to know: you want to rouse G Murphy as soon as possible. When you get her roused, she has a thing. She has a stack thing. Let me just go to it. She has a stack thing. I can't press it. Long press. She starts gaining stacks of life seal, and the important thing is that, first of all, it increases the amount of sacrifice, or the amount of birth ritual stacks that you'll get, which means even more sacrifice damage. And number 2, when she has 5 stacks of life seal, she'll do double the instances of damage on her exalt. So it's just really strong. And what you end up doing is you just kill through phase 2. You just exalt a bit. I have a replay if you want to see the strategy in action, but that's all you really need to know. You want to only exalt maybe on turn 2, and then you have to wait till turn 7 to build up the lifesteal stacks, and then you want to all in and then just do infinite damage. And one thing I want to add, if you're looking at the replay, I think that it might have been better for me to use some of the waltzes on shield stance, just because then I'd have more time to do my all-in combo, but it ended up not mattering. And number 2, this is a pretty low investment clear. I say that just because my nymph, I don't really have a good nymph comp, but the thing you need to know about this one, well, there's 2 things. Specifically with this one, when you go into phase 2, it will apply a lot of bleed on you, so you want to have some hero furnace so you don't immediately die from the bleed. There's that thing. And I mean, you can look at this replay, but basically what you want to do is you want to apply a good amount of poison whip in the fire, and also start applying the what is it called? Start applying the shoe stacks. I already forgot what spellbound. Start applying spellbound, And you want to get to max spellbound stacks when you transition to phase 2, and also have Nymph Exalt and Shu Exalt ready. So then during phase 2, what you want to do is you want to remove all the spellbound stacks, and also let Nymphia trigger the poison. And the hope is that when you do that, it's gonna deal enough damage where you can finish the fight off quickly if possible. You can also run Lily so that you can take more DRs during phase 2, but that's really all you need to know. Alright, wave 4. Wave 4, you have this shield relic, and it'd be really nice if you'd be able to use it. The most famous comp I've heard is Calf Bigula. And Calf is a known unit that can shield a lot of HP. But yeah, the damage intentions are really high, so it's a really scary mob to go against. And there's one thing that's important. I mean, there's multiple things, but yeah, they're gonna have DR procs. When the DR procs proc, they're going to gain more HP, so their DR procs are worth more HP. They're gonna have 50 Fortress they're gonna eventually end up with 50 Fortress. And all of that, it's just gonna be really... You're gonna need a lot of effective damage in order to kill that. I did it with Muchet, but it was really close. I had to take 8 DR procs and use Fate. Ideally, you don't want to do that, and you want to move Muchet comp into like wave 2 or something, because Muchet can clear basically anything. It's not that much of an exaggeration. Alright. Now this comp is basically use Lotan OE, use Muchet, take a lot of DR procs to charge up Lotan. But ideally you want to use Calf, because Calf can actually use this relic very well, and if you're able to clear this with Calf, you can free up your Muchet. You can the thing is, you have to have a pretty well built Calf. Pretty good, because I personally, I was at a point where I let some damage get through every turn, and it's just very difficult if that happens, because of the missing HP bonus damage. They have an intention where they'll deal at least 50% more damage if you're low on HP, which is really, really difficult to recover from. But yeah, wave 4. Wave 5. Wave 5 is Tawil. Okay, there's two things actually. Number one, there's a lot of mob fights in wave 5. I think it's around 4 to 6 mob fights in total. So you want to have something that's able to clear mobs. And by the way, one of them are skippable. One of them is skippable. But the rest of them, you're forced to go through them. I'm pretty sure. But yeah. I just ran Muchet. There's not that much to go over. Tawil has a few mechanics going on. Number one, she gets chains sometimes. She gets chains if she takes a lot of HP. First of all, if she loses a certain amount of HP, she'll have chains on herself, and it'll seal the Awakener for 1 turn. That's one form of chains. There's another form of chains where she's gonna have an attention, I think it's Pinions, where if you play a card after Pinions, the first Awakener that plays it gets sealed for 2 turns. That means you can't exalt, you can't use their cards. And there's not really a way to get rid of that unless, number one, you run Alva, or number two, you make copies of a card through either like Lone Seed, Dice. That's the only two I can think of. But pretty much, it's gonna be sealed. You wanna ideally you wanna ideally get the seal stacked on someone you don't care about that much. Okay, and there's also a damage intention. Let's just load into a replay. I mean, the replay might take a while. It just doesn't work. Never mind. There's also gonna be one of these. Alright. Pinions of Times. Deal the next command card played by the Awakener for 2 turns. When you see Pinions, that's gonna... You have to remember that's a thing. It might take a while, so I'm just gonna yap over this. This exalt is just because I can get some of the Alimus back. Anyway, it's not that threatening. Here, you can see this. After taking blink damage within a single turn, gain 70 fortress, so it's gonna be harder to burst, and they'll get 1 stack of chains, which will seal the Awakener that procs it. Which is kind of difficult to control if you're running multi-hit, but it's not the most lethal. Okay, this is the second intention that's important. She has a Twin Wings intention, a 4 Wings intention, and a 6 Wings intention. You can see Twin Wings, it will deal damage twice and apply Fragile. And then 4 Wings, it will deal damage 4 times and then apply Fragile and Weakness. And then 6 Wings, it will apply damage 6 times and then apply Fragile, Weakness, and Vulnerable. This is... So, you want to be able to control how many cards you play. And also specifically for this, one thing you should know is if you Aegis Exalt to stun, if you stun Tawil during that intention, she will not count while she's stunned. And this is important because usually the damage intention changes overrides the stun, and it can be pretty annoying. But in this case, she will not start counting if you stun her. And of course there's the choose 5, pick 3 cards to remove from your deck. But that's fairly just pick the cards that don't matter that much. So ideally not your main carry's important spell. And debuffs and all. But yeah, that's all you really need to know. Tawil boss is not that difficult, especially if you're allowed to take DR. Okay, I mean I can't say that much because I'm running WeChat, but yeah. The important thing is you do it is kind of difficult to burst through in a single turn just because of the reinforce and the seal. But she's also just not that threatening. Her HP pool, her damage, it's not the best. But yeah, that's everything I have to say about these 5 waves. I hope that the yapping has been useful to some extent, because I don't know. But yeah, that's gonna be it. I don't know what I'm gonna yap about next, but bye for now. Have a wonderful day, everyone.